Hey, couch potatoes, it's Thursday. Grab your cat, sit back and relax. We're on the green couch.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you can hear that there's somebody new on the microphones this evening, and that I am not Raz, and so there must be somebody in place of Raz.
Or Raz went through some serious life changes.
Also a possibility. Are you Razette?
Lucky for you, no, I'm your wife.
Yeah, thank you.
That'd be weird.
Love Raz.
Man, I thought you were going to say, but I love you more.
I love you more.
Darling.
Tonight in the studio with me is my lovely and dear and beautiful and
all right.
very patient.
This isn't Wheel of Fortune.
Tolerant wife. My very patient, tolerant, loving wife, Aubrey Iwamoto Zunkin.
Hello.
Hey, Aubrey.
Hey, Bill.
How you doing?
Swell.
What is the deal with gas station coffee?
It's terrible.
Well, yes, but why? Why does gas station coffee insist on being bad? I mean, there has to be a gas station somewhere that thinks that knows that they will. All right. There are plenty of situations in Los Angeles where there is literally like a gas station across the street from a gas station across the street from a gas station.
Across the street from a gas station.
Possibly even that. Why doesn't any one of them put up a sign in their window and fucking say, "We have the good coffee"? They will clean the fuck up.
If one of them said that they had like Starbucks coffee, maybe. Because, everybody's a sucker for Starbucks.
I would sooner go to a place that say, "We have the good coffee" versus "We proudly brew Starbucks branded coffee beans."
I don't know, Bill.
In a world that is so saturated with a product, it pays to make something good rather than just to make a lot of something. So many artists nowadays are pursuing the drip. Like, so many bands are basically just trying to provide a constant flow of social media content that they have subjugated their art to be just, a place filler for the thing that they need in order to get likes and thumbs up and hearts and loves and clicks and eyeballs. What they end up doing is putting out material at times when it's not ripe in favor of putting it out.
So like quality versus quantity?
Correct. Gas station coffee. Plentiful. Cheap. Easily accessible. Bad. The gas station coffee analogy, I bring it up because when we're having interviews with these bands, we're constantly having conversations about the way in which they participate in the contemporary marketplace of products and ideas insofar as their artwork and themselves as a commodity are concerned.
Wait, what?
So there's plenty of bands just churning out their bad coffee music. One of the groups that I recently saw that I thought was pretty neat was STUNTDRIVER. You and I went to go see them play
at the Satellite?
Yeah, at the Christina Young residency. I think it was the first or second week of that. What did you think of them?
I thought they were interesting. I liked their theatrical kind of the theatrical aspect of their performance a lot. Like their costumes. I honestly remember their performance more than I remember their sound or like the music. Mm-hmm. But maybe that's just because I don't know their music that well.
Yeah, they do only have the lone single online right now. They are putting out another one
I mean, we were listening to that in the car on the way here and I liked it and I'd like to hear more.
How would you describe Stunt Driver?
Kind of like a theatrical punk band. But not like, your stereotypical punk. They have
Mohawks.
how many musicians are in the band?
5.
I mean, that's a lot.
Guitar, bass, synth, vocals, and drums.
Yeah, they have a lot going on. It's not just like, 3-chord, power chord song.
With costumes.
Right. But they have like a real punky kind of presence and attitude. I really liked how I appreciated it when she was challenging the crowd to talk to people that they didn't know and
Kym, the
get
singer.
uncomfortable. Just kind of like being kind of creepy about it. Like, we're all going to get real uncomfortable.
There's other like theatrical, like punk adjacent bands like Devo or Fancy Space People, or were the Yeah Yeah Yeahs theatrical like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Karen O had, she always has like really interesting costumes and outfits that she's wearing that
You've seen them
often,
play,
like,
right? I
move
never got the
with
chance
her.
to see them play.
Yeah, I saw them play when they were a lot more kind of toned down though. Like, it wasn't for I think it was for the Show Your Bones record, not for Fever to Tell. So she was like, there's like the legend of her being like really wild on stage. She wasn't.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Theatrical is a funny word because there isn't. I can think of bands that are really wild, but I can't think of.
Well, I really appreciate bands that are more than just like sit and listen to our songs, where they're
And
more
yet you wanted to go to the Cat Power concert.
because she's a good musician. That doesn't mean that's all I like.
Okay,
I appreciate often, especially if it's done well, when a band is really dynamic and you really feel like you're seeing a performance. Like bands that are like, it's like you're seeing performance art.
Yeah,
And that's what Stunt Driver felt like.
in the conversation that Raz and I had with Stunt Driver, they really are very keyed in on the sort of lexicon and community of performance art. That's how apparently the group began, was as a performance art piece. And so I think that maybe they occupy an especially like out of a lineup of bands, you could easily identify them as being theatrical. It's something that I don't see a whole lot of in groups. Most of it is, I don't know. I mean, most of it is bands. Like, there's not that extra element on top, and not that that's a bad thing.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that like everybody should have that.
Yeah, Nick Cave is really a good performance, but he's not like.
Well, he's theatrical without it becoming like a whole production. It's just his presence, and
He's not. Nick Cave has no sponges.
right. And well, because he's not he's not campy like that. I mean, there's like fun and campy, and then there's like just like he's a storyteller, kind of a songwriter like Johnny Cash was, where you're listening to a story, and so he'll often become the character
No, you're right. He is
on stage.
He is not campy. He takes himself very seriously, as
is.
my chest found out.
Yeah, well, you were kind of like laughing right in his face, but
Yep.
he just didn't understand the context. You were laughing over all the girls going bananas over him whenever they get near him, and he thought that you were, and the song was not a funny song, From Her to Eternity. It was really an intense song, and he sees this guy laughing, and he just goes, "Hey, fuck you," and pokes you in the chest, and then just keeps going. And actually, it sounded like it was part of the song, but I was like, "Oh my god, you just pissed off Nick Cave." I would be so scared, like, to be the person that Nick Cave is pissed off at. He's a scary guy. I'm sure he's fine, but he has that kind of presence.
I don't think he's held a grudge.
Against you? He doesn't care about you. He's already forgotten about you. No, he lies in bed at night thinking, that guy laughed
Guy
at me.
in Los Angeles, that fucking asshole.
That guy laughed at me. Why was he laughing?
Warren, do you think he didn't like me?
What was so funny?
I love telling people that Nick Cave told me to fuck off, but that was a really good show apart from that. We've seen some pretty good shows since we moved out here.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I mean, my favorite shows, I can say with almost certainty, were when the crowd was really good and really into it, and you feel like you're connecting with the artists.
Like who?
Like the Bad Brains. I saw them play at the Sunset Junction Festival. That's not a thing anymore. And there were like so many big, scary looking, like gangster looking dudes in the crowd. And they were already moshing and the band hadn't even started yet. There was like a guy swinging from a bus sign, like a big guy that like eventually jumped down trying to crowd surf from the bus sign. That didn't work, which was kind of funny, but I saw him, so I knew to, you know, not be underneath him. But I just remember thinking like, I can't, I love being in the pit. I love moshing, but I can't, like, I'm going to get like demolished. Like I can't. And then they started right into Pay to Come. And it was like I blacked out from excitement. And it wasn't just me being excited that I was seeing the Bad Brains, and I was, because it was the full, I think everybody in the original band. I mean, HR was singing, which doesn't happen very much anymore. Mm-hmm. And I just like, all of a sudden I was in the middle of it dancing and it was really fun. And I was like, oh, look, I'm fine. And I had a great time. It was really, really cool. And it was fine. Everybody was friendly. Nobody was trying to hurt anybody. Which is usually the case at punk shows, real punk shows.
Somebody definitely stepped on my head at a U.S. Bombs show in Manhattan one time.
On purpose, though. You know, I mean, shit happens.
Yeah. He was walking on top of the crowd.
Oh, okay. I mean, that I'm like picturing you on the floor, and like somebody just being like, "I'm gonna stomp this guy's head." But I mean, I've had my share of bloody noses in the pit from an errant elbow.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was an accident. Just kind of stand off to the side, hold your nose, and keep going.
Tilt your head back, you'll be fine.
Well, that's why you got to wear black, because if you're not and people see that you're bleeding, they make you leave. Like the people in the crowd make you leave, especially if you're a girl. They're like, "Oh my God, she's bleeding. I have to save her." And I'm like, "Fuck off, I'm fine." But yeah, no, those were always my favorite shows. When, like Motorhead, I felt like I had a concussion. I've had concussions, but for like a week after that, I felt like I had a concussion. And I don't know if it was from being in the pit. Again, another situation where I didn't think I could be in there because there were huge dudes, but I was fine. And I mean, but their sound, it was so loud. They had, in a 3-story building, they had all their speakers and subwoofers going from the ceiling to the floor. And it was the loudest show I've ever seen. That was really good.
That was at the House of Blues, Boston.
Rest in peace, Lemmy. Anyway, I think that Stunt Driver deserves that kind of crowd, and that they can totally have that kind of crowd.
Well, I think the first sign of that is going to be how their music sounds. They've sent us over their next single. So unless I'm quite mistaken, this is going to be the first place people are going to be able to hear it. Hopefully this is the beginning of them getting those crazy crowds. So let's take a listen to Plastic Faces by Stunt Driver.
Plastic faces, why are you hiding? Plastic faces, you've come undone. Plastic faces, disguises are biting. Plastic faces, you're not much fun. Masks
seen you guys play twice now. Once at Echo Park Rising, and then this past Monday at the Satellite. My assessment is like you engage the crowd, and especially Monday night, it was pretty clear that you came out on stage, front and center, and just said like, "Hey, this is happening now. Everybody, wake up."
I mean, yeah.
It has that same effect of being very immediate, very present.
Yeah. I mean, I personally, like, when I'm on stage, that's kind of my most peaceful place, like, oddly, it is, like, kind of like a safe space. Like, I'm not thinking about the future. I'm not thinking about the past. I'm just like, this is what's happening. And you can love it or you can leave it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel.
We have this discussion a lot with singers that come in here, and it's pretty common that it's, you're up there and it's your safe space, but you're inviting everybody in to enjoy your safe space with you. You're not thinking about anything else. It's just kind of...
I think that makes people more comfortable in themselves, seeing someone pulling the tunnel out, doing all this crazy shit. But it still looks cool and authentic. So then it's like, oh, if they can do that, then maybe I can relax a little bit too.
To be fair,
I
think the first thing you said, you came out Monday night, was like, "All right, folks, we're getting uncomfortable here."
Did I say that?
And you had the
Good.
had the quadriplegic mannequin.
But sometimes you have to be uncomfortable to find that comfort zone. Somebody has to walk in and kind of break the ice.
Yeah.
For you to understand that that isn't uncomfortable.
Well, it's like, here are the rules of this world, like giving you permission. I mean, and if anything, like, I feel like goals with most art is to, I don't know, put us all on another plane or provide some sort of service,
So you're from Texas, right?
Mhm.
What part of Texas?
From Austin.
Austin. Oh, cool. Yeah, Austin's great. Were you in a band or performing in Austin?
I mean, I left there when I was 17 and moved to New York. So,
Where in New York?
I went to NYU.
Oh, okay. So you went to the city.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in the theater. Like, I'm a performance artist. So I'm all about the reveal and the presentation and don't break the reality. All that stuff.
Is that what you're studying in NYU? Were you studying theater?
I was in the experimental theater wing. So it was very much about, I mean, drama major. But it was very much about being an artist, And so, I did like one-woman shows. I did stand-up. I did clowning. I created these like vocal, weird, multidisciplinary things. And I didn't actually start playing in bands until I moved to San Francisco in the early 2000s.
Did you go to San Francisco to start a band, or just go to San Francisco to...
I went there because sort of with the idea that I think in the back of my mind that San Francisco was more experimental and edgy than LA. And I think when I knew I was going to end up in LA, so it was just kind of like a stop on the train.
Did you find that San Francisco was more edgy?
In many ways, yeah. Yeah. But then you sort of reach a threshold where you're like, okay, I did what I came to do. I mean, I met like my mentor there, like drag queen mentor.
Sure.
And collaborated with a bunch of amazing people. I wrote a rock opera there. And
Second week in a row, we've heard talk of a rock opera.
yeah, even though I didn't call it rock opera at the time. That's just what other people wanted to call it. I called it theater rock or rock theater. And like I did it in the Fringe Festival, and it got
Either way, it's Meatloaf.
But the Fringe called it rock opera. It got Best of Fringe, which was super cool, but they called it rock opera.
There's nothing wrong with being a rock opera.
I know, but that's like the rebel in me. I'm like, don't call it rock opera.
What was it about?
The year before, I had gone traveling by myself in Central America. Flew to Mexico City, and then made my way down to the Darien Gap of Panama via bus, hitchhiking, all these things. Like, exactly, I did some pretty risky shit. So I had all these fucking stories, and without making it like a show about me, because how many times have you seen a one-person show and you're like, all right, I get it, So it was about this woman named Coca, and she was this woman on the street, and, in her mind, she was this, like, superstar, and she'd be performing these intricate things on the street, and, and in her mind, there was this band behind her and everything, and then she would turn around, and there was nobody there. So that was like this whole premise. But then there were all these different sort of like stories. There was like a gorilla, and Yeah, so it was kind of like the story of her.
What did the gorilla do? You can't just throw in, oh, there's all these other things.
Well, the
There's a gorilla.
represented the river creature, and the river creature was a travel romance. That was based on a real travel romance of mine.
But the gorilla represented the river creature. Is that supposed to make sense
No.
to me? Okay.
Thank you.
No, because he was the guy. No. The travel romance was a guy that was like a river guide. He was like a kayaker guide.
Okay.
So creature or whatever. It was a metaphor.
I thought you were talking like an anaconda or like.
Yeah, no, that's just my lingo.
Is there a
That's my lingo.
All right, in her defense, Tommy, the rock opera, was about a blind guy that played pinball, so, you know. No, so, I mean, you're in good company. That makes no sense either.
Inspired by my trip, but I didn't want to make things literal. And I had accumulated all of these, you know, those old school orange life vests? Have you ever seen those in my garage?
Yeah,
I have a ton of them.
There's a lot.
And they were just from like us going
up and down
river tubing.
rivers?
Well, going river tubing, you know, like north of San Francisco and stuff. And my friend moved, and she's like, "You can have all of them." I was like, "Oh, I want them all." I was like, "I'm gonna use them for performance." So the whole band was then in these orange life vests on the river.
Oh, in the play,
in the
opera.
rock opera, yeah.
We'll just call it an opera. We had a guest in here who's she's performing in the Metropolitan Opera in New York, and she's doing this adaptation of a Mozart thing. Nobody ever calls it, oh, it's a classical opera. It's just that it's an opera. Like that can be the genre. The music is secondary because it's just sort of like an affectation on the opera genre. So we can just if it helps you to check that rebellion box, it's like
I know.
we can avoid the rock opera semi-pejorative label and just call it opera.
Yeah.
Sort of elevates it.
Cool. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I wrote an opera.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where the hell are you from?
I'm from Sweden, from Stockholm, Sweden.
Yeah, what are you doing here?
I don't know.
You're not like my guy Hank Lundqvist, so you didn't get here
Hockey
over.
didn't work out for me, so I had to seek other. I found music to fall back on. No, I came here to study.
That'd be an amazing life. It's like I wanted to be a pro hockey player, but I had to fall back on a career of being a rock star.
Yeah. Music. Yeah. Right. No, I produce music mainly here, and I play guitar in
And it's
STUNTDRIVER.
co-producing a record.
Yeah, and but I came over here studying music.
Are you one of the Swedes that produced "Oops, I Did It Again"?
I'm not Max Martin. I wish. I'm not one of those.
But you guys all know each other, right?
right. Not really, but that's kind of the kind of music I was doing at first, though. Before I got into
okay. So like
more
that
rock.
sort of
More poppy music, yeah. Or well, first I did a lot of like hip hop, rap, way back in the day, and then I kind of went into more pop and now rock, anything.
How'd you end up into rock music? Have you always had an interest in it?
No, I just love any kind of music. Really, it doesn't really matter to me what it is. If it's fun to do, I'm just into it.
And if I may interject, I think it's his hip hop and more pop background that really is cool, because with the rock, but like it really, like with STUNTDRIVER, it makes a clearer, more pointed sound, if that makes sense. Like he's so great at like tuning vocals and like making beats, you know, and a really like precise.
So sonically it's probably different than a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
in the genre,
It gives you guys the secret sauce.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it doesn't. I know. I always use the word muddy, but like it allows things not to get so muddy, which can happen lots of times with straight up rock records. You know, a million guitars, you know, and then you can't hear anything.
Yeah, especially in modern rock, it turns into like this mush.
Yeah.
So I can take some of the tricks from the Disney boy bands and put them in
Exactly.
here, and
Gnarly.
something cool comes out of it.
And how did you guys meet?
Well, I don't know.
Well,
He's like, I don't know. He's like, I just walked in here.
And I should say that there's more to the band than just the two of you. So maybe we could figure out, maybe give me a little bit of an idea as to where does this band. So Frank Zappa talks about in his book about like producing for Alice Cooper, and he says like, oh yeah, you know, we helped them get like kind of like a style and stuff down, because before that they just looked like a bunch of dudes from Arizona. And I kind of picture Alice Cooper just like riding in on a motorcycle to like welcome to Los Angeles, just like, this will do. And he just keeps going in. I have this sort of like loose concept in my head that is parallel for you guys, where it's just sort of like one day you just like showed up out of the desert, like the revenant corpse of an actual stunt driver who died performing a stunt for like a Steve McQueen movie or something. I don't know.
Okay, so the way this all happened.
You should probably go, because it was like a immersive performance thing that you gotta start there.
So this initially springs out of NYU, possibly.
I mean, yeah, did it, you know, potentially all the genres. And I mean, I kind of look at this project as sort of just a conglomeration of all the things I'm interested in.
It's the best kind.
So I had this idea where I wanted to create this immersive theatrical event that involved, obviously, music, a new music experience, right? Where the audience was involved. So that is what happened. It basically created this thing that was actually in that version. So did it last summer. And that's why it's taken so long to get the record and the music out, because I spent all my money on that. And, but it was great. Everybody got paid. You know what? It was a very good feeling just to, you know, do that. It was great. So did it at Highways Performance Space last summer.
Where's that?
It's in, exactly. See, so it's in Santa Monica. It's more known in the like performance art dance world. They've been around for like 30 years. But they are on the west side, but they really wanted to do it there, which was awesome. And yeah, we were at capacity both nights, but it was like, you know, it was like a play. We loaded in a week before, full band, double drummer at that point, which I want to bring the double drummer thing back, but when it's time. I had a cast of, 12 actors? 8 actors, including myself. You know, we were all on headsets, walking throughout the space. There was a set. The audience, you know, went through the set. It was this whole like idea, like the battle between light and dark, superheroes, this whole thing. There's this character called the Influencer, which you kind of saw a little bit of with the paraplegic mannequin.
Yeah.
But so there's this much more like other dimensional version of this project. The Influencer represents, obviously, it's a biting critique of social media, right? Where we sort of believe in this thing. And why are they influencers? Why? What? They're getting paid to tell us what? You know what I mean? So it's obviously going off that. The Influencer created this product called Night Cream, which eradicates your flaws, your imperfections, your inner demons. Zabba, zabba, zabba. Okay, so she's sort of like what represents, quote, evil. And then the drivers, so to speak, represent good, or the resistance, right? And the battle ensues. So in that version, the audience is then taken through these different stations, each station representing a different human challenge, flaw, habit, whatever you want to explore. So obviously, and there was a different song in each station too, and obviously.
And that's where we came in, just to backtrack to that. That's how I got involved, because me and my father-in-law, we worked together producing stuff, and he had produced someone that you knew, and she needed people to produce music for this show.
Exactly.
Okay.
So prior to that whole version happening, exactly, thanks. So prior to that whole version happening, I had contact. So John had worked with the Bronx, or he worked with Mariachi El Bronx, Joby Ford, and I was like, been wanting to work with Joby for a while. Whatever, it didn't work out, and Joby's like, I think I got somebody.
Wait,
for
I'm
you.
sorry. You're talking about the heavy metal band, the Bronx?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have another project called Mariachi El Bronx. Yeah.
Where it's all mariachi music.
It's totally mariachi. It's really cool. Check it out. And
your father-in-law worked with them?
He produced that album.
He produced the record.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
What's his name?
His name is John. And he plays bass, John Avila.
Oh, that's the bass player.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he used to play in Oingo Boingo.
All right, so Anton and John knew each other, so they came as like a package deal.
They did.
Where'd you find the giant on guitar?
That's Ryan James. He is an old dear friend.
Okay.
When we were working on the songs for, preparing for last summer, I was like, Ryan, you want to play lead guitar on some of these songs I have? And he's like, totally. So So he did.
And the drummer?
And well, the drummer you saw.
Well, he was at Echo Park Rising too. So
You were at Echo Park Rising. Okay, so the drummer that you saw at Echo Park Rising, that's actually my dude.
Okay.
And yeah, and he's playing live drums on the record.
So the album is not, it's not the album of your opera. This is a completely separate thing, or is it?
Yeah.
So this is not like the whole thing with the influencer.
No.
So this is like a completely new.
They're different songs you're
Yeah,
asking?
like a new set of songs, a new. It's not the album version of your.
The original cast recording?
No, like there's not like talking or anything like that.
But
No.
the music is the same.
The
I
music
think
is
that's
the
what
same.
you're getting. Yeah.
Okay.
It is the songs, but
Right.
more produced and more structured.
No, that's cool because that's what I was trying to get to, because you talked about this whole thing that was going on. It's like I want to hear that. Like I want to hear that. So
and it makes the music make more sense too.
right, an album with that on there would be great. I'd love to listen to that.
Oh, is the what do you call it? The libretto, is that going to be part of the liner notes?
Huh. I don't know. These are new ideas.
This is the idea of the concept album, is what you're talking about.
Yes.
And I'm a big fan of the concept album.
Yes.
I love like Pink Floyd, The Wall,
yes.
that type of thing. You know, Genesis, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. It's all like a thought, and you actually listen to the record. I used to put the record on, listen to it from start to finish, and you go, oh, I get it. You're there.
Yeah.
So
He's Kilroy. I see.
oh man, we don't want to go there.
No, but it should come with like a description of the characters or something.
Yeah, no, exactly.
know?
Yeah, Pink Floyd, The Wall had like the school teacher, and Pink was an amalgamation.
Background.
Right, but that's not important. What was important was the music. You didn't have to like look at the album
Right.
thing.
Right.
You just listened to the music.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
let the mind kind of take over. But that was my initial question. If your album, the one that you're recording now, was basically the concept album from the spectacle.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is.
That was a long way around?
That was a long way. Yeah, I guess.
Do it.
Well, I mean, it's something like we've been messing with that we feel like we can't complete till we've like final mixed the other songs. So Night Cream that was the song I was messing around with when the paraplegic mannequin came on. That's her theme song. That's the influencer theme song. Night Cream, that's her product. So we were messing with different versions of that song that would be bookends for the record.
Okay.
I'm also a big fan of that as well.
This is ticking all sorts of boxes for Raz.
I'm looking for like my wallet right now.
What, you want to fund the record? You want to put it
I
out?
want to buy it. I want to buy it right now.
What kind of state is the record in now then?
We're so close.
We're really close. We're kind of mixing, laying down some overdubs here and there where it needs some extra stuff.
No, we're almost
done.
done.
So you do have a new single coming out.
New single. That's the one I emailed to you.
And what's that?
That's
Sorry.
called Plastic Faces.
Is that the one where you're all wrapped up in the cellophane?
Yes.
For anybody who's not familiar with your visual representations, there's a couple of different events that happen at your rock shows.
I like that.
So you guys throw sponges at the crowd for the song Bad Bath. You get wrapped up in cellophane for this Plastic Faces song. And then you have that pop-up, what is it, the Dream Tunnel?
Transformation Tunnel.
Transformation Tunnel.
Originally in the immersive versions, we used the tunnel during the song Trapped in a Body. But now, it doesn't make sense to do the tunnel during Trapped in the Body during the show. It makes sense to do it during Funeral for a Fantasy. Funeral for a Fantasy is really about, letting go of the shit that doesn't serve you, It's like, and I think it's like, even though we know something doesn't serve us or something we keep screwing up on, we keep doing it. Whatever that habit or flaw is, and it might not be some crazy serious habit, but it could be something that keeps you from being happy.
How long is the record going to be?
I forgot what the one. I mean, really not that long, like 20 minutes. 20, no,
The show is like 30.
25 minutes, something like that.
Right. How many songs are on this? The
But
record?
that's without the intro and outro. Like 10?
Where's my phone at? 8, 9?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of normal shit.
Because I'm fascinated. I want to hear like because now she's just kind of talking about what all these different songs are, and I would like to hear
Sure.
like the whole. If we
I
just
would
start
love
at the
to.
top and go, hey,
This'll
this.
be the companion piece to the record.
Right. Yeah. No, I think people would be interested because it's kind of fascinating because it's like right now it's just all over the place. I just want to
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is how it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So what's the first song?
Well, it says Red Road, but really the first song is Night Cream, which
Okay.
I already told you about, which is the influencer's theme song.
That's when you came out to
That's when I
announce
come out.
the discomfort.
when I start the discomfort. Red Road is sort of the it's like the theme song for the drivers.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually in the context of the show, it was like we had received an alert in another universe plane that she was at it again. The influencer.
So that introduces the drivers.
That introduces the drivers.
Yeah, and we slowly walk out on stage to the intro. Of that
Yeah,
song
and
too.
lots of times we'll loop that song live, so everybody kind of gets in position. And my instruction to them is always like, or direction, I'm like, just you're members of the Force. So then, let's see, what's next? Should I keep going with this?
Yeah. No, I'm fascinated. Let's go to the end.
Okay. Next song is called Fugitive, which would probably be, I think that would be the third single that we would release. And Fugitive is like, fugitive to being on the run from yourself, the ideas you have about your life, these boxes we put ourselves in. Then next is, next something we've been doing live is a vamp of the song Funeral for a Fantasy, which we play next to the set.
It's kind of like a stony, jammy thing. We just kind of vibe it out for a while. And then it goes into the actual song.
Yeah, so it's cool because there's no backing tracks there, so it's kind of a little more organic. I mean, yes, it's like a structured vamp.
Yeah.
But
like it's definitely different every time we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's
And
the
it's
thing.
kind of exciting, So there's 7 real songs on the record and then Night Cream, so 8.
Real. Nightmare's a fake song.
Night Cream's a fake song. Okay, so
Define
Battle-
fake song.
Yeah, what's that?
That would be the intro and the outro.
Okay, so that's not. Well, that's a real song.
Yeah, that's a real song.
It's a real
Yeah.
It's
She
it's
doesn't know
intro,
yet. It's gonna be
outro,
amazing. It's gonna be epic.
Okay, I thought it was
Battle Song. It's the next song, which was one of those names, it's like when I was writing, I just called Battle Song, which I think I maybe had the intention of changing the title. I really don't give a shit. It's Battle Song. And in the immersive version, when the drivers first arrive and see the influenzas and them trying to pass out Night Cream to the audience members, this was like their first interaction. And I really wanted it to be like, even though it's not cool to like Michael Jackson anymore, but some of this shit used to be cool. Like in Beat It, when the gangs met each other in the alley and they have the dance off, that was the whole idea of when the my two forces, first met each other.
Yeah, in your defense, a dance off is always cool.
Yeah.
Yes. I
It is
agree
always
wholeheartedly.
it's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna admit it, but like if a dance off started, everyone's like, "Oh, dude, that's cool."
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. We were just talking about the whole concept album. I'm a big fan of the concept album and stuff like that, and I think it gets ignored now. When I was growing up, like I was saying, I would have the double album set, and I would listen to the songs and look at the pictures and kind of have the whole thing floating through my head of like what it's about. So it's like really refreshing to hear some of the things you're talking about. And
Bring it back.
yeah, no, bringing it back is really great. And in this case, it's really great because it's like a thought out, absolute complete story. And I think it gets ignored by a lot of bands. And,
Yeah.
because honestly, like I said, I didn't know anything about you guys before today. And I just watched that one video and I was thinking, oh, they're kind of like I said, kind of like Devo or like the Kazi Way or even like the Tubes. And I had no idea that it was like this kind of deep, rich story that kind of went into it. There's a lot of bands out that do a lot of like costume rock.
Right.
And they're known like, oh, they're the bands that wear the
Yeah.
the baseball uniforms. But
Yeah.
that's
Talking
it.
about the outfield again?
We aren't talking about that. Do you realize I haven't mentioned Vincent D'Onofrio in like 3 episodes? So there we go. I have now. But that's all they're known for is like, oh, I went to see this band and they wear, bear outfits.
Yeah.
Right.
And
People
that-
mover.
Right. And that's it. And that's
They could be a traditional Irish group. They could be a klezmer band, but they could be like a Drake cover set. But it's they're which ones? The Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, these are the guys that wear the helmets and the stunt driver stuff. But it's so much, it's refreshing because it's deeper than that.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Guar. They have a whole universe, and they do have the things like the same thing where they have like a giant dinosaur comes on stage and they have like a thing that eats audience and spits out blood. But there's a whole story behind that, much like what you guys are doing. It's like a whole world.
Yeah.
To me, it's refreshing to hear, and it's refreshing to see because a lot of artists are not doing that. They're not thinking about their story. They're not thinking about, and that's where like a lot of great bands ended up talking about, like the Who, or even Genesis, Pink Floyd. They all had an idea. They all like, Roger Waters, when he did The Wall, it's kind of similar. His idea for The Wall was that he felt that when they first started playing, they were in smaller venues and he was really close to the audience. But as they got huge, there's like, you see that giant stage and then there's that row that nobody can get near the band. So he thought, that's what's happening is we're building up a wall between us and them. So that's where the whole concept of the wall came, and he fully flushed it out, much like you're kind of doing the same thing, where it just over time he's like, oh,
Just
this
keeps
is
developing.
yeah,
Exactly. I saw it at Desert Days. No, not Desert Days. Desert Trip.
the wall.
Yeah.
When,
they had this
in 2016. That was that the last time he did that tour?
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, it was very moving. It was very moving, that whole show. I mean, obviously incredibly, like something he wrote so long ago is actually tapping on very current topics.
Right, but that's goes back to my point about the artist telling the story. Like a good story will live on.
Totally.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what medium.
If it's real and authentic, that it works every time.
Yes, if it's real and authentic, it'll work every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's like when you're talking about this, I'm like, oh, this is kind of like, this is a very classic concept type of album. I know you don't want to use the rock opera or whatever like that. But
I like concept rock.
Yeah, no, it's a conceptual
Yeah.
rock album. And even though it's, the word rock has different connotations now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because like when I went into this, you were just the guys that wore the stunt suits and had the makeup.
Yeah.
It's like a whole.
Yeah, and I think that's why people like us, because if it's just that, it will feel forced, and like people don't respond to it if it doesn't have a purpose or something.
Right. It's not we're just playing dress up.
Yeah, exactly. It's.
But but what I do wonder is, like you said, you thought we were just the guys that dress up like stunt drivers. How do we convey, without somebody knowing us or seeing us live, how do we convey, that it is something deeper? I guess obviously in our bio.
Well, the thing about storytelling is you keep telling the story.
Yeah, and eventually it'll catch on.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how you get that understanding invoked, is by providing a framework. It's like, because you're referring to everything in these sort of art school terms of like, oh, it's not an album, it's a body of work. This is all performance art. For people who don't traffic in that space, it would be difficult for them to, like, who the hell would know what that is if you're just like Joe Schmo?
Yeah. For sure.
It's not something that people are usually involved in. But
you mean performance art as its own entity?
Yeah, it's just kind of like the rock club is far more pedestrian and accessible, and people kind of understand that framework, and there needs to be a framework. It's another Frank Zappa thing. He says, like, if you don't put a frame around your painting, all that is what is that shit on the wall? You need to kind of
it's a container.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it shows people, it's like, this is where the art begins and ends. Yeah. And I think the rock club venue might be confusing it. Like Hedwig, you don't have to get the story, or alternately, you don't have to necessarily get the songs, but it caters to both demographics and whoever crosses over between those things, and or Rocky Horror or whatever sort of like more contemporary musical theater productions. But it feels like you guys kind of would be more understood with like a higher resolution, more clarity by that sort of audience than try and export the music from that space. The way that the Hamilton thing is. Plenty of people stream that on Spotify. They like the music.
Something I've been writing about from the beginning, like pitching the whole immersive thing, or even where we're at now, is blurring the boundaries between concert goer, gallery spectator, and straddling the art world and the rock world. I mean, yeah, I'd love to be playing in like museums and galleries, stuff like that. I feel like that would be a great thing for us.
Really? Like that would be like if that were anything were an option, that's what you would go with?
Well, I'm talking like the Broad. I'm not talking about some tiny gallery. I'm talking like...
Yeah, sure. No, I understand.
Yeah.
Like that, the
straddling,
yeah.
I'm not saying only, but I feel like that would be a really great avenue and setting for us. Because if somebody walks into a museum or an art gallery, yeah, their set of expectations are much different than if they go to a rock show or to a concert. Sure. But at the same time, I do want to play rock venues because I do want to make people uncomfortable and see it from whatever perspective is that comes with that set of expectations.
I mean, we're starting to see people coming back from playing these rock venues. So after doing that, you build a following that naturally is just gonna come to that rock club, and then it's gonna make more sense in that space, even to other people. I think.
I think because it's so unexpected, because this is, you know, it is unique that there is like a concept rock thing going on. That at a rock club, most people go, especially in LA, they you know, right. They're either there to see their friend's band or whatever. Yeah. And you guys come in and you do this whole thing and kind of like, you know, the whole story unfolds. They go, oh my God, I was at this club and I saw this band called STUNTDRIVER. And initially they're going to go, oh, they wear, you know, the helmets and stuff like that. Yeah. And they bring someone there.
Exactly.
And that other person goes, oh, cool. Then they start to find out what it's about, which goes back to your how do I tell this story, is you do it the old-fashioned way, the way stories were told, one person at a time.
Yeah, and then that person is going to explain so this is the thing, it was this show, and now we're going, then they explain it to their friend. And
then, then it will bring it up to that point that Bill was, I think, that you go, it's like very primal. You reach that base, like in a nightclub, people that are not really ready for it, and you just go, blah, here's the story. And they go, holy shit, as opposed to somebody expecting, you know, like you said, walking into a, you know, some sort of art thing, and they're like, I'm expecting.
It's cooler to bring the audience from the rock club to the gallery or the museum than the other way around, I think.
Which is like the opera you were talking about with Sage.
With the Cozy Fan Tutti?
Yes.
What about it?
That was the big hubbub. It was bringing the
Oh, sure. Yeah, because this guest we had on, Sage Sovereign, she's all right. So this rendition of Cozy Fan Tutti that they're producing at the Met for this upcoming season is the plot is almost incidental, but the whole thing, like the backdrop, they set it in 1950s Coney Island, and Sage is a fire breather. And she works in the sort of Brooklyn circus scene as well as internationally, and so she's working with like contortionists and sword swallowers and, you know, like stilt walkers or wherever. You know, and so she's, you know, it's like end of Act 1, and then she comes out and goes, blows a big fireball over all the old gray hairs.
Awesome.
That's the concept that Anton that you were talking about. Like with that opera, they
brought the freak show to them.
They brought the freak show to the opera. Yeah. And I think that's what you need to do. You need to bring, well, first you need to bring your freak show to the people, and then bring those people to the art world.
I was wondering about earlier, is this the original cast recording of a performance piece, or is this a band producing a concept album? And it sounds like it's very intentionally got a foot planted on either side of that body of water.
Big time.
Like if you were introducing songs that were not part of this narrative, be it that they are like in some way a sequel or they're just wholly unrelated, you're distancing yourself from this kind of like concept. And
Yeah.
that's so I think like you're still kind of like in a safe like Schrodinger's band right now where you're neither art nor strictly rock.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be very interested to see what direction your band would morph if you did start saying like, oh yeah, now we're going to play this other song that has nothing to, that song doesn't know shit from the influencer. Like,
Yeah.
It would either have to stay in the same universe or be a new separate thing. I don't know.
Yeah, do you become Aladdin Sane as opposed to Ziggy Stardust? Or do you be the Aquabats and like keep fighting bad guys in between breakfast cereal commercials?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see what that. I don't know. It just keeps developing. You know what
This
I mean?
is really fucking wild shit.
And,
It's happened very
I mean,
organic. The whatever plan we haven't
There was
been
a
following for a while.
We have or have not?
We have not. I think. I mean, I don't know. Have we?
I don't know yet. I don't know what it's gonna be called.
Okay.
That's
I'm not
fine.
there yet.
But whatever form it takes, you're predicting it's going to be released early 2020.
I want it to be released March 13th. It's a Friday.
Okay.
Friday
Groovy.
the 13th. 13th's a lucky number to me. That's my birthday month. I want to do it at Bob Baker Theater. Yes, right? Right?
Yes.
I'm going to a show there on Sunday.
Is that the one in Highland Park?
Yeah, it's a marionette
The
theater.
Marionette Theater, yeah.
That's the dream. I emailed them the other day. They haven't written me back yet. But welcome to my world.
Not the only guest we've had in here who's talked about trying to put on a show there. We
Yeah.
had somebody
Oh,
come
really?
in talking about they wanted to do a their own rock opera, but with
With
is it
marionettes.
marionettes?
Yeah.
Marionettes, yeah.
Well, I'm going to a show there on Sunday. I'm going to ask to speak to.
With Bob Baker. With Bob
Is
here.
Bob here?
I'll speak to Bob.
It's a great place. It's one of those. It's kind of like it's like an LA treasure.
All right, so the yet to be named or potentially conceptually organized album is set to be released tentatively Friday the 13th of March, and
2020.
you're hoping that you have an additional 2 singles in between now and then. Do you guys have any shows lined up in between now and then, or are you focusing mostly on getting
I mean, I would love to play some more shows this year, but nothing's really panned out.
Okay, but nothing.
As
So
of
nothing
late.
as of yet is booked.
Not yet, for this year, no. Except I will say, but ironically, I have shows booked for 2020. So Jimmy, the drummer, and I are going to be in Detroit. He's from Detroit over the holidays. So there's this festival that's happening right after the first of the year. It's a bunch of old bands, kind of reunion bands doing a thing. So Stunt Driver's playing. But it's going to just be Jimmy and I. And maybe we might pick up a guitar player there just because we're going to be there. So we have 2 shows. January, and then we're playing The Smell.
Oh, sweet.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
I really want to play at Mustache Bar in Tijuana.
I've never been to Mexico, so I don't know.
What?
I'm not originally from here, so it's
yeah.
not like I've spent a whole lot of time south of the border.
I've never left this room.
Ever.
You don't get skin this white by accident. And should you book any shows in the meantime, where could people find out about them? We mentioned you're on YouTube, and that's at Stunt Driver Music.
I wish. We don't have enough subscribers, so we don't have the vanity URL on YouTube.
But if somebody were to just go on YouTube, type in the search bar Stunt Driver Music,
You should get
you're
to
the
it.
second thing that comes
But
up.
ironically, stuntdrivermusic.com takes you to all things. That's the landing page. You can click on all social media there. You can view
Okay,
videos
so I
there.
don't even need to list all of the
You
things.
don't even need to.
You guys have
That's
a
why
tree.
I created it. Exactly.
Groovy.
So stuntdrivermusic.com takes you to absolutely everything. Contact info, social media, videos, bio. I'll send y'all links and stuff, if you want that.
And if you guys want to send us another thing, here's an addressed and posted postcard. Feel free to to get back in touch with us sometime.
Yeah.
Just drop it in a
Oh,
mailbox.
cool.
Oh, that's sick.
I love it.
That's the theme building on the front. Do you know that it was called that? The theme building
No.
at LAX, the
You
big...
know, I think they're getting rid of it.
Ooh.
I've had a drink there once. Have you ever had a drink there?
No.
And well, it's so stupid. You can't
always
even
wondered what it was.
if you're going to catch a flight,
Like,
you
why are you
can't just
gonna
like
go?
walk over there. It's like a whole. The only reason why I went there once is because I missed my flight.
What was it called again?
The theme building.
Theme.
Yeah, it's the big
was it called now?
white spider-looking thing
Yeah,
at
yeah,
LAX.
At LAX, yeah.
So I don't know if they're tearing it down. I hadn't heard that, but it's one of the more iconic pieces of architecture in the city.
Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I made that up.
I picked up the postcard at Stories this morning on my way over here.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
So yeah, feel free to get back in touch with us via the old post
I
mail.
like it. I
that's
won't
cool.
ever email you. Only send you postcards.
Yeah, maybe when you're in Detroit, just let us know how it's going in
We're
Detroit.
here.
Like, send money.
We're not coming back. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Kim,
yeah, like,
I saw the look on your face.
You're like, what?
Yeah,
We
you guys
have
gotta
time.
He was
read it.
about to call you stunt driver.
It's okay.
It's Diva Knievel on the right, and
Ooh, I like that Diva Knievel.
Diva Knievel, that guy.
Thanks for having us. Seriously.
Looking evil in that guy.
On the Green Couch is a production of ArtSchool Records in conjunction with and recorded at Project 4 Studios in Burbank, California. The show is edited by Raz, with additional production support by Dixie Trussell. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review us in Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. It all goes to helping other people find us. For more information, please visit our forever home on the web at artschoolrecords.com. I'm Bill Zunkin, and thanks for listening.